You are bleeding, not physically, but every single day. You are bleeding power, respect, and leverage, and you don't even know it. Every time you explain yourself to someone who didn't ask, every time you share your dreams before they are real, every time you tell someone your next move, your plan, your pain, you hand them a weapon, and most of them will use it. I know that sounds harsh, maybe even paranoid, but here is the question you need to sit with. Why do the most powerful people in history say almost nothing? Why do the wealthiest people in any room share the least? And why, no matter how honest, how open, how real you try to be, do some people still walk all over you? There is an answer, and it's been sitting in a 500-year-old book that powerful use and powerless never read. Today, we are opening that book. Stay with me. You have been lied to. Your whole life you were told. Be open, be vulnerable, be honest, share your feelings, let people in, communicate, be transparent, and look, some of that is true in some context with some people. But here is what nobody told you. Vulnerability in wrong room is not strength, it is surrender. You were taught the rules of connection, but nobody taught you the rules of power. And those two things, they are not the same game. This is why most people stay weak. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, not because life is unfair, but because they talk too much, they reveal too much, they trust too quietly, and explain too freely. And every single time they do, someone somewhere files it away. Machiavelli saw this 500 years ago. He wrote in The Prince, the most feared, most banned, most widespread about political manual in history, the book that popes tried to suppress, the book that emperor reads in secret, the book that will change how you see every conversation you have ever had. Let me ask you something. Have you ever told someone your big plan, your dream, your goal, your idea, and then watch them slowly talk you out of it? That's risky. Do you really think that is realistic? Most people fail at that, and somehow you believed them. Your fire got smaller. You waited, you hesitated, you second guessed, and that thing you wanted, it died in the planning stage. That was not an accident. Or maybe this one hits closer. You shared something personal with someone, a fear, a struggle, a secret. You trusted them, and then weeks, months later, that same information came back to you. Twist, used against you in an argument, whispered to someone else, or just held over your head. You felt betrayed, confused, foolish. And what about this? Have you ever been the most qualified person in the room and still got overlooked? You worked harder, you knew more, you gave more, but somehow the person who said less, moved quieter, and kept their card close, they got promoted, they got respected, they got chosen. You couldn't figure out why. You told yourself it was politics, it was favoritism, it was luck, maybe, but maybe, just maybe they understood something you didn't. Here is the one that almost nobody talks about. Your own family. The people who love you the most. You tell them your dreams and they respond with fear. You tell them your plans and they tell you why it won't work. You tell them who you are becoming and they remind you of who you were. They are not evil. They love you, but their limitations become your limitations because you gave them access, because you overshared. I am not telling you to become cold. I am telling you to stop trusting everyone forever. I am telling you there is a cost to sharing that nobody ever calculated for you. And Machiavelli did the math. NICCOLÒ Machiavelli was born in Florence in 1469. He was a diplomat, an advisor, a man who sat in rooms with princes, popes and generals. He watched people gain power and lose it. He studied what separated those who ruled from those who were ruled. And what he found shattered the comfortable lies of his era, just like it will shatter some of yours. Here is the first truth Machiavelli understood. Power is not given, it is taken, and it is kept through strategy, not sincerity. Most people believe that if they are good enough, honest enough, hardworking enough, power will find them. It won't. Power doesn't reward virtue, it rewards positioning. The person who controls information controls outcome, and the person who gives away information freely, they have already lost. Second truth, people do not operate on logic, they operate on self-interest. This one will make you uncomfortable. Everyone in your life, your colleagues, your friends, your family, they see the world through the lens of what benefits them. This is not cynical, it's biology, it's survival. Machiavelli didn't say people are evil. He said people are human, and humans, no matter how kind or generous, will ultimately act in their own interest when stakes are high enough. So when you overshare, when you tell someone your weakness, your plan, your insecurity, your next move, you are handing them a rope. They may never use it, but they have it. Third truth. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. The person who speaks least often perceived as most powerful because silence forces others to project onto you, to wonder, to speculate, to respect what they don't fully understand. The moment you explain yourself, you become predictable. The moment you become predictable, you become manageable. And the moment you become manageable, you are, by definition, beneath whoever is managing you. Now I want to go deeper because knowing this truth intellectually is one thing, living them, embodying them, and require a complete reconstruction of how you operate. That is what next part of this video is going to do. I am going to give you the exact framework, 7 principles. Each one is more powerful than last. And if you actually apply this, not just nod along, but actually apply them, your life will look different in 6 months. Let's begin. The power framework. Principle 1. Before we talk about controlling others, and yes, that is what this is about, we need to talk about controlling yourself. Because here is the dangerous truth most people never acknowledge. Every time you react emotionally in public, you lose. When someone disrespects you and you explode, they win. When someone challenges your idea and you get defensive, they win. When someone cancels on you and you overtext your frustration, they win. Why? Because you showed them exactly what button to press. You handed them the manual to your mind. Machiavelli writes that a prince must be both lion and fox. The lion uses force, the fox uses cunning. But a lion that roars at every provocation exhausts itself, reveals itself, gets hunted. Think of the most respected person you have ever known. Not the loudest, the most respected. Did they explode in meeting? Did they cry when criticized? Did they rant on social media when they were wronged? No. They absorbed. They processed. They responded on their timeline, not yours. That composure was not weakness, it was armor. When you react emotionally, your prefrontal cortex, the rational strategic part of your brain, goes offline. You are literally operating at reduced intelligence, and the people watching you, they see it. They may not consciously think, I now have power over this person, but something registers. An equation runs in their mind. Unpredictable emotion, someone I can manipulate. Dangerous truth. Your emotions are not your identity, they are your vulnerability. The goal is not to feel less, the goal is not to perform less. Feel everything privately, show only what is strategic. Start practicing this today, not next week. today. Every reaction you control is a vote for the person you are becoming. Principle 2. Never reveal your full plan. This one will save you from more heartbreak, more failure, and more betrayal than almost anything else I can teach you. Never tell people what you are building until it's already built. I want you to really hear that. Not because the people in your life are enemies, but because ideas are fragile and others people fear is contagious. When you share a plan that's still forming, you invite an opinion into the workshop. And opinion, even when intense, opinion can destroy what has not yet hardened. Leonardo da Vinci kept notebooks, thousands of pages, inventions, theories, designs, centuries ahead of their times. He showed them to almost no one, not because he was antisocial, because he understood that genius required incubation. Once an idea is exposed to the world's skepticism, before it's ready, it dies. Now think about the last time you told someone a dream before you would take on a single step toward it. They asked question you couldn't answer yet. They raised doubt you hadn't solved yet. And the dream, instead of growing, started shrinking. There is a psychological phenomena called social reality substitution. When you tell someone about your goal, your brain partially experiences the reward of having achieved it. The approval, the excitement, the identity shift, you feel it in the telling, and then you need less fuel to actually do the work. You have already gotten the hit. Secrecy forces action because the only way to feel achievement is to actually achieve it. Dangerous truth. The most powerful project in your life should have one stage that look like disappearance. When you go quiet, people wonder what you are doing. You return transformed, accomplished, different. That is how legends are made. Move in silence, announce with results. Principle 3. Use silence as a weapon. Most people are terrified of silence. They feel it, they rush to explain, to justify, to comfort, to connect, and in that rush they give everything away. Here is what powerful people know that others don't. Silence is not absence of communication. It is the most powerful form of it. When someone attacks you verbally, silence honors them more than any response. When someone makes you an offer, silence makes them question whether it was good enough. When someone tries to manipulate you, silence refuses to play the game. Abraham Lincoln was famous for it. In heated cabinet meetings, while everything argued and shouted, he would sit, listen, and almost say nothing. And then, at the exactly right moment, he would speak one word, one sentence, and it would cut through everything. His silence was not disengagement, it was accumulation. He was gathering intelligence, reading the room, computing the outcome. By the time he spoke, the decision was already made. The power was already his. Silence creates discomfort in others, and discomforts make people talk. People talk to relieve tension, and the more they talk to fill your silence, the more they reveal their priorities, their fears, their negotiating position. Every word they speak because you didn't is a piece of intelligence you can use. You don't need to respond immediately. You don't need to explain yourself unprompted. You don't owe anyone in instant reaction. Start practicing the pause. When someone asks you something important, wait 3 seconds before answering. When you feel the urge to feel silence, don't. Watch what happens. Watch people lean toward you. Watch them fill the space. Watch the power shift. Principle 4. Detach from validation. Here is the truth that will sting. Most of the decisions you make every day are not yours. They belong to the crowd. You dress for the others people's eyes. You post for the people's like. You work toward the goal that impresses people whose opinion you secretly don't even respect. You are not living your life. You are performing, and performance, it costs you everything. Approval seeking is the most expensive addiction in the world. It costs your time, your energy, your authenticity, and ultimately your power. Because the moment other people's opinion govern your choices, you are, by definition, under their control. Machiavelli would call this the greatest trap a leader can fall into. He writes about princes who governed by popularity, desperate to be loved, terrified to be hated. Every one of them fell because popularity is borrowed power, and what is borrowed can always be repossessed. Steve Jobs didn't ask groups what they wanted. He famously said customers don't know what they want until you show them. He detached from approval, operated from vision, and he built the most valuable company in history. Not because he was right about everything, he wasn't, but because he made decisions from conviction, not consensus. Dangerous truth. The less you need the validation, the more you attract it. When you stop performing for the crowd begins to watch you because you become unpredictable, independent, fascinating. Detachment is not coldness, it is freedom. And freedom, real freedom from other people's opinion of you, is the foundation of all power. Principle 5. Observe before acting. Machiavelli writes that the wise man must do in tranquility what the fool must do in crisis. Read that again. The wise man does in tranquility what the fool does in crisis. Most people are always reacting, always catching up, always dealing with problems they could have seen coming if they would have been watching. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, it is the most observant. Sherlock Holmes, fictional but yes modeled on real Victorian era forensic scientist, was not impressive because he was loud or aggressive. He was impressive because he watched, he processed what others dismissed, he saw a pattern in what people thought was noise, and by the time he spoke, the game was already over. When you walk into a room talking, you learn nothing you didn't already know. When you walk in listening, truly listening, not just waiting to speak, you collect a library of intelligence. Who is nervous? Who is posturing? Who looks at when a decision is announced? Who smiles with their mouth but not their eyes? These are the real data points. These are the signals of hidden agendas, real royalties, and genuine vulnerabilities. The person who talks the most in any room knows the least by the time they leave. The person who says least, they have mapped the entire terrain. Slow down, watch more, speak less, become the person who is never surprised because they saw it coming 3 moves ago. Principle 6. Know people's weaknesses. This one makes people uncomfortable. Good. Comfortable people don't change. Every person in your life has a central need, a core wound, a driving fear, and whoever understands it controls the dynamic. This is not manipulation in predatory sense. This is understanding human nature. A doctor who doesn't understand how the body gets sick cannot heal it. A strategy who doesn't understand how people behave cannot navigate them. Machiavelli was not evil for writing this. He was honest about what most people pretend is not happening. Think about someone in your life seems to always get what they want. They don't push, they don't fight, they just maneuver. They know what matters to each person. They know who needs praise, who needs inclusion, who needs the illusion of control, and they give it to them, not as manipulation, but as social fluency. Every human being has what psychological call a core psychological need: safety, love, esteem, freedom, purpose. When you understand which need drives someone, You understand how they will react in any situation. What will make them cooperate? What will make them resist? What will make them loyal? This is not about exploiting people. This is about understanding them well enough to move through the world without constant friction. Most people only understand themselves, barely. You want power, understand others as well as you understand yourself. Study people the way you study subject you care about. Ask more questions. Listen to answers you weren't given. Watch what people do when they think no one is watching. That is where the truth lies. Principle 7. Control your environment. Machiavelli understood something that most self-help culture ignore completely. Individual willpower is weak. Environment is everything. You are not just a person moving through the world. You are a product of the room you sit in, the people you surround yourself with, and the information you consistently feed your mind. Control your environment and you control your destiny. Fail to control it and your environment will control you. Napoleon didn't just conquer armies, he curated his inner circle with obsessive precision. He chose advisors not for their loyalty alone, but for their usefulness, their complementary skills, their willingness to tell him uncomfortable truth. He controlled who had access to him, what information reached him, and how his image was constructed to the outside world. He designed his reality until he stopped. And the moment his environment became chaotic, advisor he couldn't trust, campaign stretched beyond his control. He lost everything. You will over time become the average of 5 closest influences, not just people, content, environment, conversation. The person who spends 3 hours a day consuming outrage will think in outrage. The person who spends 3 hours a day studying strategy will think in strategy. You are what you repeatedly expose your mind to. If your environment hasn't changed in 5 years, you haven't changed in 5 years. Audit the room you are in, the voices you listen to, the conversation that take your energy. Cut ruthlessly, upgrade relentlessly. Because the most powerful version of you cannot emerge from environment designed by someone else's limitations.